Well, Angus Macculloch is a senior lecturer at Lancaster University, specializing in EU law, and he joins me now live. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Angus, I mean, this is the Supreme Court. It should be final, and it means that the Prime Minister acted unlawfully. Still, given everything in Brexit is unprecedented, can Boris Johnson, do you think, kind of wiggle his way out of this one and avoid real repercussions here?
You can't avoid the legal repercussions, as Parliament is now back in session, has not been prorogued and can sit again as it wishes. He's lost control of that. Politically, there's a different question, whether or not the judgment will cause him political damage and make his position untenable. But the court didn't address his motives in making the decision. It merely said that to justify a lengthy revocation, as they suggested, he would have to justify that. And the Prime Minister led no evidence as to why he had suggested such a long period of time, 5 of the remaining 8 weeks before Brexit. So therefore, he couldn't justify that decision, and therefore it was unlawful.
Right. And it kind of remains to be seen, I think, if there's some kind of, I've asked before about any sort of criminal liability for, effectively, if it was unlawful, they are determined, they have determined that he effectively lied to the Queen. Can he do that? Will there be, go ahead.
The court was very, very careful to not go into that territory. One of the claimants had suggested that, had argued based on his motive for making that. But because the court decided the effect of prorogation was unlawful, that there was no need to address his motive. So they were quite careful in not personally going as to what the Prime Minister did, but merely looking at the effect of what he did. So they avoided that personal element as much as they could, probably on very good political reasons, that they didn't want to involve themselves in the political. And they can rightfully say that their job is to referee, but they're not making individual decisions about the PM himself.
Okay, what about Brexit now then? What about the October 31st deadline? I mean, there is no magic bullet deal here. The EU doesn't want to waste any more time, nor should it have to. I mean, how does this get solved?
I don't think this gives us any clearer way forward on how to solve the problem, but it does mean that the Parliament is the key to the answer. That the judgment is very clear that the ultimate power in the UK Constitution rests with Parliament, not with the government or the Prime Minister. And it's Parliament who make the final decision. So if there is to be any resolution to the Brexit crisis, it's going to have to come through Parliament and not directly from the government.
Right. Just quickly, legally, would Parliament be able to say, okay, we failed you, we didn't get a deal, now we have a no-deal Brexit on the table, or a Remain, let's ask the people again? Would that be strong in legal terms?
Yeah, I mean, Parliament can do whatever it wants. That's still the position in the UK Constitution. It can decide to do whatever it wants, but Parliament has to decide. So at the moment, it seems very difficult to get a majority for anything in Parliament. But if it comes to that crunch, Parliament could simply throw it back to the people as a way of resolving the problem.
Angus Macculloch, thanks so much for joining us there from Lancaster. We appreciate it.